Hey, thanks for stopping by the channel. Make sure you're subscribed and checking out the bell icon down there so that you're getting notifications. Um, I really I don't want to say I don't know where to start, because the issue isn't that I don't know where to start with this video. The issue is mostly that don't know, I don't know how to emphasize how important um, what I'm about to say really is. You see, for years, I have been insisting that we hold people who are elected or appointed to public office accountable for their actions. This is something that has been fundamentally part and parcel of who I am as a patriot, as a constitutionalist, for a very long time. This isn't just something that started when I launched this channel back in April, on April 25th of 2020. This is something I've been saying for years. But what has happened is that has accelerated and become fundamentally more true for me for a very long time. And as I launched this channel, I began to speak out about abuses of power by people in elected and appointed positions. I've spoke out about Kim Norton, the mayor of Rochester, and her tacit approval of every single Marxist ideological position that is forwarded in the city of Rochester. How she has sheepishly gone along with everything that Governor Walz of the People's State of Marxisota, she has tacitly gone along with everything that he has done, even though much of what he has done has, in very, honestly, in my opinion, violates not only the United States Constitution, but the Constitution of the state of Minnesota, and quite frankly, often violates the laws of the state of Minnesota. And our legislature is guilty of that as well. They've allowed that to happen. I've held a mayor of a city up in the region around the Twin Cities accountable for threatening to seize the churches of her city and to lock the doors and to basically take over the properties if they refuse to not meet. Talk about a violation of the First Amendment, right? There's absolutely, sorry, there's a fly bugging me right now. A bug bugging me. There's a bug bugging me right now. There's a fly bugging. I don't see. There it is. No, for those of you that are watching, it's not some sort of evil spirit that's harassing TC. Um, it, but I've held a lot of people accountable. I've held John Thompson, who is now an elected member of the Minnesota House of Representatives, for his vitriolic, racially inflammatory, ethnic hatred laced behavior in the city of Hugo, in the neighborhood of Bob Kroll and his wife, where he literally said they were willing to burn down the city of Hugo if Hugo didn't get rid of Bob Kroll. Like, yes, I'm holding those kind of people accountable. Yes, I held Keith Ellison accountable and the governor accountable for endorsing that kind of hateful Marxist rhetoric. I've held other public servants in and around this area, all over southern Minnesota, uh, all the way over to the situation as it involves my friend Lisa Hansen. I have held public servants accountable for their behavior, and I will continue to do so. I will not stop doing that, because I'm a patriot and I'm a constitutionalist, and as a private citizen, as I speak on issues of great public concern, as uncomfortable as it can be for me to put myself in this kind of position, I am not going to stop, because we're not doing it enough as a society today. We're not holding people accountable enough as a society for their actions. And quite frankly, oftentimes when people do hold public servants, elected or appointed, accountable for their actions, what those public servants will do, the elected or the appointed, is they will then use their power, their power, to try and silence the people who are holding them accountable. It happens all over. There are reports coming in many places. In fact, there was actually just a situation that Brandon Tatum reported about where a police officer on duty was dealing with a situation, and the individual began to question him on his cell phone camera and made some comment about whether that the officer was going to kill him like they had killed another individual. And the officer said, "Well, are you going to try and stab someone with a knife? If not, then you should be okay." And I'm paraphrasing. That officer was disciplined for that. He didn't say anything wrong, but he was an embarrassment to the powers that be. He spoke out in a moment, said nothing wrong, and the powers that be determined that they were going to silence him because they didn't want to have to deal with the reality of the truth of what he said. And the irony is this was an African American police officer addressing an African American um, citizen who was harassing him. Who was harassing him. And so why do I say all of this? You're like, okay, TC, what's your point? You've rambled on about this enough. What's going on? I want to talk about Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. Now, she's been out of control and out of hand since last year. She has taken every opportunity that she can to execute a Marxist agenda for the state of Michigan from the beginning of the coup overreactions. She's been doing that for a long time. But what's important for us to understand is that Gretchen's not only overreacting, she's living a hypocritical life. Her husband has been caught violating the very executive orders that Gretchen has put in place. Her husband's been caught, and she's and others around her connected to her have been caught violating orders from the State Department of Health. And so, well, why did the State Department of Health have to get involved? Well, because Gretchen had her butt handed to her by the Michigan Supreme Court. And my friend who practices law in Michigan wrote an amicus brief that helped get Whitmer defeated. And you know who you are. Not that you watch my stuff. You're too busy with your own stuff right now. But Gretchen lost in much the same way as the governor of Wisconsin, Evers, lost in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. I wish somebody in Minnesota would finally have the cojones to push this to the Supreme Court of Minnesota so we can expose the Supreme Court of Minnesota for what it is ultimately just a Marxist shill as well. But Gretchen over and over has demonstrated that she's got an agenda, she's got an axe to grind, and she's going to make herself the queen of Michigan. Well, recently Gretchen has told people, stay home, don't leave Michigan, do not leave Michigan under any circumstances, and definitely do not go to Florida. If you don't believe me, you just got to look this up, okay? Even mainstream cathedral news is covering this. But the problem is that Gretchen doesn't abide by her own strong suggestions. She doesn't abide, and her family members and her friends and her close compatriots do not abide by the very things that she thinks her subjects, her little peon serfs in Michigan, should abide by. Why do I say that? Well, because Gretchen was literally caught going to Florida to care for her ailing father. Now, I don't begrudge anybody going to care for a family member, but remember, Gretchen, why do I keep saying Gretchen? I think there's something going on there. Gretchen has told her people, don't leave Michigan, and definitely don't go to Florida. So what's Gretchen do? She travels down to Florida. She justifies it by saying she's caring for her ailing father. She tried to hide it, but she got caught. Gretchen has a staff member who left her coof-exposed child at home to recover not by themselves, but left their child at home to recover from the coof while she went and vacationed in Florida. This is reality. This is a fact. This has happened. Okay. Gretchen went to Florida to care for her ailing father, who has now just this week been spotted traveling around in his nice little Tesla. You know, those poor people in public service, right? Man, he's been traveling around to all his stomping grounds in Michigan, in Lansing or East Lansing, one of the two. He's been spotted. It's a reality. So, Gretchen, what was it? Is your dad so ill that you had to travel to Florida to take care of him in his illness? Or did you just use it as an excuse to abuse your serfs in Michigan? And so why is this important to the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment? Why is this important to this channel? Why should this be important to all of you? Because the reality is, people in elected and appointed public servant positions exist on a parallel track to us. And I've talked about this before. They get to tell you how to live your life. They get to dictate to you what you can and cannot do with your life, while they themselves travel on a track parallel to the one that you are on, where they get to do whatever they want. And you do not get to hold them accountable. You do not get to ask questions. And if you get out of line, if you dare to embarrass them, if you dare to speak out, no matter who you are, no matter where you work, or no matter what you do, if you speak out against the elected, appointed powers that be, they will smack you down. They will make you as uncomfortable as possible. They will bring whatever pressure they can to bear on you to silence you. And that's what Gretchen has done. My friend, and I mentioned her already, and I'm not going to say her name. I don't want to try and look like I'm, clout chasing here. But my friend ran for office, was elected, but was on the election day of 2020, was arrested. She didn't break any laws. She was arrested ultimately because the powers that be are trying to shut her down. And this is happening everywhere. I've mentioned a friend up in the Twin Cities who is it doesn't matter, was a longtime employee of a public office, was threatened with the loss of their career for just going to Washington, D.C. and being there on January 6th. Nowhere near the Capitol building, didn't go inside, didn't do anything wrong. Look, this is what happens. These people get into a position of what they consider to be power. Do you know who I am? Do you know what my position is? Do you know what I do? Do you know what kind of authority I have? And they will shut down any dissidents. They will shut down anybody that challenges them. And they'll use whatever they can because they exist on a parallel track. They're better than you. Now, is it true that they're better than you? No. I tell people all the time, I have no superiors. I have no superiors. You have no superiors. I don't care where you work. There is no one superior to you. If you're a patriot and a constitutionalist, no one is superior to you. You have employers, you have bosses, but no one is your superior. But they treat you like a serf. They treat you like a plebe. They treat you like you are there to serve them. And that's what people
Governor
like Gretchen
Whitmer
and what is it, Bashir in Kentucky. They treat you like you dare not step out of line. And that bleeds all the way down to the local level. That literally all the way down to the local level. Do not step out of line, you plebe. Even if you don't work for them, do not step out of line. We will find out what you do, and we will have you removed from your position. If you work in the private sector, we will have you fired. If you work in the public sector, we will have you fired. If you own a business and you don't toe the societal line, we will destroy your business. We will have you canceled. We will crush you out of existence. Gretchen Whitmer is just an example. I could point to dozens and dozens and dozens of people just in the state of Minnesota that have the same mentality. Once they get power, they will use that power to silence dissent. You better not embarrass them. You better not point out where they're wrong, because you are not allowed to do that, because you are nothing but a serf. Pay your taxes, go to work, do what we tell you to do, wear a mask when we tell you to wear a mask, social distance when we tell you to social distance. Do not have social gatherings that violate our orders. Don't worry about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Don't worry about exercising your liberties. We'll tell you when you can do that. And don't challenge us. We will smack you around if you get out of line. Sometimes like literally, and other times metaphorically. Do not challenge the status quo. Don't rock the boat, because if you do, you will suffer the consequences. And they're using this kind of pressure and power on literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people across the United States. But I'm here to tell you and encourage you, stand up, speak out. Do not let these petty tyrants silence you. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. But people like Gretchen Whitmer, people like Governor Walz, people like Cuomo and Bashir, and people like Garcetti and Newsom and others, Harris and Biden and Pelosi and Maxine Waters, all of them, they're not above us. They're not our superiors. They're our servants, and we should hold them accountable when they are doing things that are wrong and immoral and disgusting. And that's why I end my podcast the same way every time. Until next time, Sic Semper Tyrannis.